evening. Good evening. Welcome to RomingerRadio. 717-916-5189. Carl Rominger here with Rominger Radio. Have a good evening, I should say. Welcome to the show. What do we want to talk about? Well, all the craziness that's going on in the world right now. A little bit of everything going on, in fact. What more can I tell you, right? Israel continues to fight it out. What else do we know? Well, the Japanese and the Chinese are going to continue to fight it out. Not as hot over there as it was or has been. Germany beats Argentina in extra time. Ukraine and Russia are slugging it out. I don't know if Germany and Argentina counts as a battle or not. Just threw that one in there for the heck of it. Dan Gilbert and LeBron James have mended fences. I guess that's a truce or an armistice or some such thing. World powers unlikely to reach a nuclear deal on Iran. What else do we know? Pot sales, legal pot sales started in Washington this past week. Of course, they promptly ran out of weed as fast as they started selling it, apparently. If you want to get on the air, feel free to call in, 717-916-5189. Would love to have you on, catch up on whatever you guys want to talk about. Of course, as you know, if you want to talk about UFOs, Sharia law, that's another one that's going on that's kind of got my attention, and I'm very interested in this. It seems to me that everybody and their brother, and when I say everybody and their brother, I don't know what I mean by that exactly, but it seems to me that a lot of people have an idea in their head that Obama is somehow trying to secretly take over the United States with Muslims. And why do I say that? I've been reading more and more of that on Twitter. I guess I got to be careful who I follow on Twitter, maybe just getting selective feeds. But there does seem to be some theory out there, or belief out there amongst right-wingers that Obama is a Muslim implant who's trying to secretly turn the U.S. military control over to Muslim control. And if you think I'm crazy, just start reading some of the articles online. Go on Twitter and just put like Obama, hashtag Obama, hashtag TCOT, which is the True Conservative, hashtag TCOT, whatever that stands for. True Conservative, I don't know what OT stands for. On Twitter, okay, there we go, TCOT. And just check out some of the diatribe that's there. Of course, then you can do the left, which is, I forget what they are. They're P4s or something. They got some comeback to the TCOT. They're just as equally crazy. I read an article today, actually, in Penn Live. It was a editorial by a woman who's a conservative immigration lawyer who also is an immigrant, talking about how she's sick and tired of being labeled some kind of wacky liberal. And she was manly mad at Ann Coulter, who had made some comment about how soccer is destroying America and how, soccer is responsible, and how her, nobody's great-grandfather was a true patriot would ever watch soccer, which was code for, only immigrants watch soccer. As someone who grew up in the United States and was born in the United States, I played soccer, so I'm not sure what the hell she was talking about. But if you go to Penn Live and check out the editorials, it was in this weekend's editorials. I forget the woman's name who wrote it. What else is going on? I'm still trying to figure out what the difference between Red Man tobacco and Redskins football is. Of course, that led to some interesting little side notes. If you go online and look up like racist corporate mascots, you don't have to go back to 1889 to find many of them. Although some of them started back then. There's lots of quasi-racist, overtly racist, or could be racist trademarks and logos out there. I'm still just a little lost on the Redskins issue, particularly what that means. Then I found an article. So when I was trying to research that for tonight's show, because I'm still on that topic, I found an article from 2011 about the use of clothing designs, and claiming that the clothing designs were created by Native Americans and Native American art being co-opted into clothing designs. And, of course, silly 20-something hipster white girls and boys wearing them, and whether that was racist or not. But here's an interesting little tidbit I came across because there was a very thoughtful blog article going through the history of this. And so a lot of Indians, Native Americans, buy these Pendleton blankets. And apparently Pendleton Blankets, a wool company out west somewhere back in the day, sold all these blankets, which became kind of the go-to blanket for a lot of Native Americans. Turns out Pendleton was actually a company owned by some white guys who intentionally sought out the native market and set out an art director / designer to figure out what the various tribes would like for patterns and whatnot, so they could do these felted wool blankets, which were prized in those days. So the blanket that many tribes associate with traditional, as like 100 and some years of tradition, is actually made by a company that was founded by some white settlers who were intentionally marketing to the Indians, although who borrowed a lot from the Indians to borrow patterns and things like that and tried to make them as appealing and as authentic in design as possible. But they were, still this white guy's interpretation of what they would want. Of course, they did well. In the meantime, the Navajo Indians, who started weaving all the Navajo blankets, were creating a whole series of blankets, including some that we would traditionally associate with the Navajos, for peddling to the tourist market, which was mainly white settlers and tourists who went crazy for these Navajo blankets. And there was some influence in the Navajo blankets that is both Mexican and Spanish, as well as English, as well as Indian. So the author was basically pointing out that in trying to go backwards and decide who owns what fashions and what patterns, you can go back to a time, 100 years ago when Indians were intentionally making blankets to sell to white settlers and to meet white settlers' tastes, and white settlers were intentionally making patterns and blankets for Indians' tastes. And that who owns the patterns or who owns the tradition is not this linear question. And I thought it's an interesting point, and it probably would be applicable in our discussion about the Redskins and applicable in our discussion about Red Man tobacco and the use of, who's the chief? Who's the chief for the Cleveland, Chief Wahoo or something for the Cleveland Indians? Just that these cultural lines and what's offensive or not offensive, who created what or who owns what or what's associated with what is sometimes obscured in the mists of time. And so, a Pendleton blanket is not really an Indian blanket, although it's come to be to the point where some Native American bloggers were complaining about Pendleton, crossing the line and licensing use of patterns with major mainstream fashion designers. That it somehow was a bad thing because it was taking away from Indian heritage, when, of course, this author was pointing out, well, it's not completely true because Pendleton really isn't of Indian extraction or Native American heritage. And in the meantime, that Navajo blankets were, somewhat manufactured by Navajo Indians to meet the tourist trade because people started using them as rugs, so they changed the yarn and the colors they used to be more muted to meet flooring requirements. So I just thought all that was interesting because it should be something we should reflect on when we're trying to decide who's doing the right thing. Okay, so that reminds me of Donald Sterling and his wife. I guess he called her a pig in court the other day. Of course, she's been testifying. He's off his rocker. I don't know if there's a result on that yet or not. I don't think there is. I'll be curious to see how that one plays out. Apparently, the trust that Donald broke now owes $500 million in cold loans. So when they sell the team for $2 billion, and then they pay the capital gains tax on that, and then they call in the loans, it's not quite as sweet a deal as probably they thought it was going to be. And old Donald probably screwed that one up. But yeah, we've talked about him before. 717-916-5189, by the way, if you want to join me live here on the air. Today's show's a little late, and of course I apologize for that, except that I don't apologize for it. My son was away this weekend, and I usually have him this weekend. And he came and hung out with me today, so usually I would have had him the rest of the weekend, but I got him late last night, so I wanted to enjoy as much time with him as possible. So I knocked back the start time 2 hours to accommodate him. So I'm not making an apology. I'm just giving you an explanation. What else do we want to talk about? What else do you guys want to talk about? I'm not sure. I know we had a great show about immigration. We had a great show about religion. I really thought the immigration debate's still ongoing because Lordy knows what the right answer on that one is. The religious debate we can put off to a different day. You know, we can debate that one 20 years from now. Maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong. We can go back and forth. But the immigration debate, we got to solve that one pretty quick. The border's a mess. The president refused to go down there for a reason. When things are that messy, the president just doesn't go. You know, natural disaster, I guess you can go stand there when it's that bad. Human-made disaster, I don't think you want to stand beside it, particularly if you are in any way to blame for it. And I could see people blaming Obama for what's going on down there right now. Although it is a Bush-era law, by the way, that expanded the non-deportation of the unaccompanied minors. So it's a bipartisan problem. Of course, those Bushes are pro-illegal immigration, right? So maybe that explains it. I mean, that crazy Jeb down there in Florida talking about compromises and Ronald Reagan and amnesty. What the hell's going on? What are these Republicans up to? Oh, they're selling you guys down the river. That's what they're doing. Get used to it, Tea Party. Yeah, it used to be the Christian Coalition. Now it's the Tea Party. We love you when we need you, but when we don't need you, we'll forget about you because you won't vote for the other guy. See, they got you. Maybe Tom Wolf would be the Tea Party candidate here in Pennsylvania. I know that Governor Corbett certainly isn't a Tea Party candidate. He raised taxes. He said, nobody seems to want to talk about this. Why am I the only person in media talking about the fact that Corbett raised taxes more than any other governor in modern history? Second largest tax increase in Pennsylvania history. But he says, oh, it wasn't really a tax increase because I just rejiggered the way some liquid fuel tax worked and removed a cap. It's an increase. I guess you guys want to buy it. It's not. And then he was talking about, well, we may have to raise taxes to balance the budget. Right? He's saying that. We may have to raise taxes to balance the budget. I want pension reform, and then I'll put tax increases on the table. He signed the no tax pledge. He pledged that during this term he would not raise taxes. I guess now he already broke it. He should just break it at will, right? Because nobody seemed to care. None of you guys cared, right? Anybody care about Corbett raising taxes? Anybody? Anybody besides me? Anybody notice it besides me? Probably not. Well, I say that facetiously. I'm sure you guys listening know. I just get so mad on the free pass that Corbett got. The absolute free pass that Corbett got on this no tax pledge turned into a tax raise. And my Republican friends all saying, oh, well, Carl, you know, it's different because he has to. But then what Corbett came out in his first campaign speech and said, don't you dare vote for that. Don't you dare vote for that guy, Tom Wolf, because all he's going to do is, really? That's exactly what he said. He came out and said, do not vote for Tom Wolf because all he's going to do is raise your taxes. So if that's all Corbett's going to do, I would submit we shouldn't vote for him either. But what do I know? I'm just telling you what the governor said. He said, don't vote for him because he's going to raise your taxes. Then he came out and said he's going to have to raise our taxes. So essentially what he's telling me is vote for anybody you want. Yes, listen, I agree. From the Prez, yes, exactly. Lucinda just said, yes, Corbett's taking his cues from the Prez, and I agree. So that's the nice thing about Facebook here. I can in real time engage in a little chit-chat with you guys as well. I'm just kind of going crazy about the Corbett thing. I feel like, though, the Democrats have finally done the right thing. Doesn't happen often, but it does. They put up a candidate who's actually a business guy, pro-business guy. Now, you know, you're getting this, he's some kind of sneaky liberal. He's got to be. He's got to be. Well, in Pennsylvania, how do you get to be governor? You have to have a foot on each side of the grave, so to speak. Corbett, probably more the exception to that rule, but Tom Ridge, right? Republican, pro-abortion, pro-choice. He said pro-abortion, I say. Casey, pro-life, anti-women's rights, some people would say. Democrat. Notice that a Republican who was pro-abortion, a Democrat who was anti-abortion, governors. Why? Because in Pennsylvania, the voters aren't completely sure who they want. There's a movement amongst the voters for a strong conservative value that doesn't exactly match up with the fiscal values of the voters. So the only way to really build a coalition in Pennsylvania is to have kind of both sides at your behest. And how do you do that? Well, you straddle some issues. So I can't believe that Wolf is some crazy liberal. I suspect he's actually a moderate Democrat who understands business, which really couldn't be any worse than a moderate Republican who lies about whether he's going to tax you or not twice or 3 times or 10 times. Really? Can't you think? I mean, I think Corbett's dead man walking. So, and I think that part of the tell on that was that Kathleen Kane's report did not go after him very harshly on Sandusky because they quite frankly decided that they would soft pedal the report against him because it wasn't necessary. He's down 20 points. That tells me the fix is already in. Everybody knows Corbett's not going to win, so there was no sense heaping it on. On the other hand, if he'd been up 5 points right now, I think the report would have come out as a scorcher. Because, I think those things actually are political at the end of the day. Lisa, if you're having trouble with your tablet, you might want to try downloading the Spreaker app to the tablet. If you go to Spreaker.com, there's an Android app you can download, and that might actually solve your problem rather than going through the browser. I got to answer technical questions on the air, too. I'm a one-man band here, so do a little of everything. Of course, she probably can't hear that, so maybe I should type something to her along those lines, right? I think Lisa just commented on the status. So one of you guys out there, tell Lisa on the air now status on Facebook. Just tell Lisa to download the Spreaker app and give that a try. She might be able to catch it streaming that way. Because if she can catch it as a download or whatnot later, just maybe a browser problem. Yes, and Dwayne's sure that Obama is going to fundamentally transform America. Well, every president fundamentally transforms America, and America fundamentally transforms itself all the time. So I'm not really worried about Obama fundamentally transforming America. I think what you should really think about Obama as a reflection of a transformation in America. The fact that he won re-election, the fact that Clinton was elected, the fact that Bush was elected. I mean, look at who we elect as president, and I would stop worrying about what they're trying to do to the country and worry about what they mean about the country. The electability of president. Look at the candidates who get to that level. I mean, it is a mess, absolute mess. It just scares the hell out of me, actually, when you think about it, because who's going to run in the next election? Next presidential election. Who is it going to be? We should do a whole show on that. I want everybody to kind of come up. Maybe we should come up and do some book reports on the different possible candidates or different matchups. We're going to do the insider matchup, right? Jeb Bush versus Hillary Clinton. The outsider matchup. Who's everybody's favorite doctor on the Republican Party? Oh, gosh. The Baltimore guy. I'll remember his name here in a minute. He's the black doctor who wrote the anti-Obamacare book, Ben Johnson. So, yeah, we could have Ben Johnson versus, who would be an outlier? Al Franken? Nah, he's kind of mainstream these days. Which Democratic wacky could we put up against Ben Johnson, like their hit man? Not sure how that would play out. But a guy like Ben Johnson is never going to run for president or get that far. He's too principled. He's got too many values. The same thing with some of the wackies on the left. They're too principled. You may disagree with their principles, but they're just too principled. And they're not going to sell themselves out. Politicians, are like salesmen. They can sell a product, which is themselves. The details of that product, well, that's just what sells best. That's what real politicians do, and that's why they're successful. They don't have strong beliefs. They have strong sales skills, and they apply the beliefs that they think are going to get them elected. Worked for Arlen Specter forever. Licked his finger and held it up in the air. It's worked for all of our presidents. Nobody's won president in the modern era by being completely one way or the other. They've all soft-pedaled something. They've all backpedaled on something. They've all made promises knowing they weren't going to deliver them. They've all sat down and had meetings with constituents for show. That's what they do. They're sales guys, sales girls. So, Dwayne, that's right. Dwayne's running for president. Yeah, Dwayne, I'll be your vice president. Oh, good Lord. Dwayne, I'm telling you, it's a worst job. Neither one of us really want it. That's the problem, though. Guys that don't want it, ones that should have it. It's actually the fact you're running, Dwayne, puts you out of the running in my mind. I've said that before. You know, the guy who wants to be a politician, who wants to run, it's not the guy you want. It's not civic. Call me jaded. Call me horrible human being, whatever you think is necessary. But I firmly believe that every time one of these suckers stands up and says he was called, he had a civic calling, and that's why he got into politics, that's like saying, I don't know. Some preachers say God called me to preach, and some firefighters say, I woke up one day from 4 years old, I knew I was going to be a firefighter. I think those guys are telling the truth when they say it. When a politician tells me that he feels, they're doing it for the civic good and they have a calling for the civic good, good. We'll volunteer somewhere. I'd quit running for frickin' office. Because when they tell you that's not true, it means I'm a power-hungry megalomaniac, and we know that people don't like power-hungry megalomaniacs when they say and admit that they're power-hungry megalomaniacs. So I'm going to do the only logical thing and claim that I had a calling to civic service or civic duty. I really think that's what happens. I'd like some guy to do that. I wish somebody would run, that refreshing candidate who comes out and says, hell, I'll run. I just want the power. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Carl, Dwayne here.
Hey, brother, what's up?
Hey, you forced me to call.
Yeah.
Hey, who said I wanted to be the president? You were saying that the people that don't want the job,
right?
Do it. I don't want the job.
You want the job or you don't want the job? Make up your mind.
I don't want the job, but I care about my country.
So you feel like you're forced into running?
Well, somebody's got to do it.
You feel like we're so at the bottom of the barrel now that we might as well elect you.
Well, I don't. Let's face it. I have no real, inkling that I'll ever get there. But my point is that it's not because I want to do it. It's because we soon need somebody in there that really don't want the job that'll get the job done.
Right. So
I'll work for that measly salary a year and take that and nothing else.
No, you got to agree. Wait a minute. The next president should agree never to take a speaking fee or book deal.
Nothing for 4 years. It belongs to the nation.
On the other hand, it's been argued that the real talent runs major multinational corporations because they can make $15 million a year, whereas the president can only make $300,000 a year. So it doesn't attract the best and the brightest.
Except every president that I ever knew, well, first off, they've never been poor to start with, but they go into office and they come out a whole lot richer than they go in. And the problem is the $300,000 a year that they make while they're there doesn't equate to their wealth.
Right.
So where's all the money coming from? Well, you better know the answer to that question.
Oh.
My point is, if I would be president, you wouldn't be allowed to give me that money because I'd throw you in jail if you tried. Oh, you're trying to bribe me. Sorry about that. Not going to work. I'm happy. I got $300,000 a year. I can easily live on that. I'll take it for 4 years. I'll move on. I don't know.
Seems reasonable.
Is that a way of looking at things?
Seems reasonable.
Yeah. So, you be my running mate? Let's go for it.
Well, I don't want to, but I will, because I feel in my heart that I've been drafted. Wait, I just said the people that say that are self-centered megalomaniacs, didn't I?
No, I don't know. I mean, I know the point you're making is a very good point. But, it's like somewhere along the line, I don't know if you went down through my Facebook, but I don't know, my views is I'm tired of politicians. Let's put people in government.
Well,
Isn't that the way it's kind of supposed to be?
and of course, I agree with that, right?
Right.
I agree with that. We're getting some severe weather right now, by the way.
Yeah, I was looking at the radar, and it looked like you might get hit up there where you're at.
Yeah,
we're not yet, but I think it's coming.
I can hear the rain pounding the tin roof. Got a severe thunderstorm warning until 9:30.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope you don't get knocked out or anything.
Well, yeah, it makes me a little nervous, but hey, you know what? We made it half an hour so far. Cross your fingers, without a little bloop yet. But one never does know. Now,
right.
What was going to ask you about? Do you buy into this that Obama is trying to create, put the Muslims in charge of the military, or do you think that's overboard? Where are you on that one?
I don't know. I don't know that I really want to say on the air how I really feel about this whole thing.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I don't know. I might go out there on you. I might go out there. But I very much believe the Cloward and Piven.
To create the crisis.
Yeah, and I think this is, I think we've been creating the crisis now pretty much through the Obama administration.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the crisis and chaos comes something new. And I'm not going to stand here and tell you I know what that something new is. But I think I can stand here and tell you that something new is probably something that none of us want.
Right. Yeah, I'm always worried. Well, I say worried, but, the reality is, like take McNamara, for instance, who was under Kennedy and then under Johnson maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah.
He comes out of Ford Motor Company. He had an encyclopedic mind and is a complete genius, and thought with all his business sense and all his genius that they could, run the government better, and it didn't work. I'm suspicious that anybody in charge of the government really has a big effect on it at the end of the day.
Well, here we go again. I'll give you my personal views on it. Is I think the people we elect are the facade of what we're supposed to think is government. But I think once they get to that point, the puppet strings get tied on, and they're just puppets at that point. The downside is they're not puppets to the people. They're puppets to the corporate sponsors and corporate interests and whatever other interests are out there pulling their strings.
Right.
And that's kind of how I look at it. And if you want to call it the shadow government, and then on the other side of the coin, anymore with, the last how many elections and, all the reports of election fraud, I even question sometimes if we really even vote for them.
Right.
Are we really even doing it? Or does the media have them already elected, months in advance? And it seems to me, I know we have technology and blah, 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 but we're sitting here in Eastern Standard Time, and our polling booths close at 8 o'clock at night. Now, theoretically, till you get to the West Coast, that should be midnight to us. At every presidential election that I can remember in the last 3 or 4 anyway, that election was signed, sealed, delivered by, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night is
right.
what we saw on our media. Now, I'm sorry. If you tell me I got to wait till 6 o'clock the next morning to get the results, I'd feel better about it. But they got this thing called before all the polling places are even closed in the country. And then let alone the votes counted.
Well, and unfortunately, it turns out it's very easy to predict what's actually happening with very small samples.
Right.
And so when I was a student years ago, we actually did that. When Tom Ridge was elected, I had that night for a college class I was in, we went to various polling places and we called in. So as soon as the numbers were posted on the door, of course, in those days there were no cell phones. So you had to copy the numbers down, go to a payphone, dial an 800 number, punch your code in that they'd given you for your precinct, your voting precinct, and then pump in the numbers for the different candidates. And what they had done was they had done samplings of not only just random samplings, but they sample precincts who considered best predictors historically. They just have an amazing way of doing it, where they can call a race statistically, by only sampling a few thousand of the actual votes.
Well, and then, I don't know, I kind of find it strange, too. It seems like, well, definitely both Obama elections, the Bush election, how many of them ended in like 49% to 51%? It's almost like they've been too close.
Well,
and when they're too close, every single time, either
I think I lost you, my friend. Dwayne, I think I lost it. Dwayne got cut out. I think the government doesn't like what he's saying. Dwayne, I'm sorry. You probably got. I don't see anything on my end, by the way, buddy. So you probably just got waxed by some lightning. Yeah. Seriously though, why are elections so close? Right? Is it a reflection of the fact that maybe we're picking candidates that are so close to the middle, and that it evenly divides the popular electorate each time? If that's the case, it just means both. It's sort of like the wisdom of the crowds through all that vetting. But it is probably true that it's interesting that the popular vote splits on such a fine hair repeatedly. Why isn't it 60-40 or 65-35? I'm not sure why that is. That's a question we should posit to somebody smarter than me. Or the closeness of the national elections for president. And of course, Dwayne, we should do some historical research and look at some of these. Is that, in fact, a statistical anomaly such that it would be unlikely to be true every time? Or is there some mechanism or some way that we pick our president and that somehow drives those numbers to to converge in a split consensus like that? I'm not ready to call one way or the other. I'm not. But who knows? Could it be? Could it be? Could it be? What could it be? Oh, Lord, more lightning. That's what it could be. Try it out. You see what I'm talking about here? Sometimes a system might naturally arrive at a certain convergence point most frequently. And so, when you roll 2 dice, the most common number you're going to get, 2 6-sided dice, is a 7. It's going to come up more often than not. The 2 dice are added together. And, of course, if you roll the dice a billion times, the distribution really levels out, and that peak forms pretty uniformly in the middle. You still get some outliers, though. But if you have a process that cuts off the sides and pushes towards the middle, like an electoral politics might, Maybe that explains that convergence towards a central split number. But then again, why is it that it's so split, so evenly split? I don't know. See, I'm musing about that because I'm not sure if I want to accept Dwayne's posit that means it's probably fixed until I know that is something that mathematically is likely or not likely to happen year after year. So a little research. Maybe somebody needs to get the Google out and start reading up on these things and find out what a statisticians and guys like. But I would imagine, well, see, of course, the fix is in. I guess you wouldn't hear it from the big guys. But you imagine one of these polling agencies or somebody would come out and say, hey, that's crazy. That's these are almost impossible numbers, what we're seeing. But I haven't heard anything like that. So maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Well, anybody else wants to call in, feel free. I don't know if Dwayne got hit by lightning or not. Probably his FM transmitter he's playing with out there. 717-916-5189 to get here live on the air. If you're not getting through, just let me know on Facebook. Then I'll know it's on my end. But all my internet feeds are up. My Spreaker's transmitting, and my Skype is staring at me. So I've got the camera covered up, though, so you guys can't see me. I do that so at night the government, NSA, can't turn on the cameras and just take a look around the house. You think my Skype's down, Dwayne? Did you try calling back in? Call back in, Dwayne. See if you get through. Skype might be down in general, but the fact that you can hear me might mean something. 717-916-5189. Yeah, you're not getting through on the Skype, huh? Well, let's try. Dwayne, hold on. Bear with me here. I'm going to quit my Skype, and then I'm going to unquit my Skype. And sometimes that makes all the difference. Sometimes that makes no difference. But we'll see. Because I still have a Comcast internet signal, and we're broadcasting out through... Yeah, no camera listened. That's right. There's very good reasons for that. All states of dress here, you know. Besides, I actually once was on the air. I was on PCN. So years ago, we had. I was on this radio show called Capital Recap, and we had on the air. Ernie Preate, and he came on, and PCN simulcast the show. And we had a break, and I didn't get the memo. Dwayne, by the way, Skype's back up, so if you want to try it, feel free. We'll see if that makes a difference or not. So nobody told me that they were going to continue to broadcast during the break. So I rammed like 3 pieces of pizza down my throat in a 2-minute break. And that's not an exaggeration. And apparently that was all broadcast live on PCN because, okay, Dwayne, you're back. All right, Dwayne, you're back. So I was just saying, I shoved this pizza down my throat, and next day I'm somewhere, and a guy comes up to me and goes, hey, Rominger, I saw you eat an entire slice of pizza in one bite last night on my TV. And I'm like, holy cow, they were broadcasting that? Anyhow, so that's why we Skype. That's why we clever up the Skype camera so that you don't need to see what I'm doing.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, good.
Yeah, what happened there earlier? Was it Verizon or was it on your end?
I think it could have been Verizon or maybe Skype Central or something because I had no blips on my end whatsoever.
Or maybe Obama boys got a hold of me and decided my conversation time was over. Yeah,
you're gonna have to come through Tor next time.
I have to find a secure way to go through. Huh?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Is there anything without NSA spying on it?
Well, Snowden actually was saying that it pays to use strong encryption on your data because the NSA does have a lot of problems with strong encryption. I mean, they have workarounds which usually involve, getting into your computer and watching you encrypt or decrypt it in real time. But they can't just monitor live communications a lot of times if they're well encrypted. Hey, I have one for you. Somebody posted a funny one here. When you are dead, you don't know that you are dead. It is difficult only for the others. Which is very true, but the reason I'm laughing is because it says, it is the same when you are stupid. And I lost Dwayne again, which I'm telling you, typical this bad weather. But I don't think it's an internet problem. I think Dwayne is getting deep sixed by Obama. I think he really is getting Obama'd out. Let's say here. Let's try calling Dwayne. See if we make an outgoing call to Dwayne. By the way, you want to jump in here, 779-165-189. You can conference call with Dwayne. Yeah, I'm not getting him.
Hello.
Dwayne.
Yeah.
All right, I brought you back up.
Yeah, I'm on my cellular phone. I was just going to grab the landline and try to give you a call. Figured maybe it was a problem with my cellular.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Lordy knows.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, don't think too hard about it.
Right. We live in this land of technology where you're not even sure if your phone call is going to go through.
Yeah, I know. Well, there's no guarantees, No,
and we get to pay a lot of money for it all, Our internet, our cell phones, and all that, we get to pay a lot of money, and sometimes I wonder if it's just inferior technology.
There's some truth to that. There's definitely some truth to that.
I'm sure you're not the only guy that's been on a cell phone and all of a sudden, boom, call drop. Happens all the time.
I know. It'll drive you nutty.
Right. At least when I was a kid and everything had a wire on it, if you wanted to get on the phone for 6 hours, you could stay on the phone for 6 hours.
I know. Well, even except for the party line back in the day when somebody would get on occasionally and ask you to please get off so they could get through.
Right. Well, different circumstances. But
of course, back in those days, all the housewives, no offense to the wives, obviously, but they would all listen to each other.
Right.
Pick up your receiver and listen. You didn't want to.
I was on a free party when I grew up.
You didn't want to have any torrid affairs on those lines. The whole neighborhood would know about it.
Right.
We get my mom on the air sometime. We'll ask her about that and see if she remembers having a torrid affairs on the three-way party line or not. See what she says. She'll have no clue what I'm talking about, which will make it all the more funny.
You mean she won't remember? Or?
Yeah, exactly.
You mean the party line thing?
The party line. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Now I know this. It's got to be Skype on this computer that's giving us the problem, my friend, because I can see the old Skype lighting up here on my phone, my handheld phone, telling me that somebody's trying to Skype in with us, but we can't get them. So Dwayne, what I'm going to do, I'm going to knock you off the air, okay?
Okay, yeah, give another call.
And I'm going to then try to bring it back up and give somebody else a chance to call in here. So. Those of you who were just trying to call in a second ago, give us a shout, and we'll see if we're able to get through. So I know I missed two of you. I'm not exactly sure. I already got a caller. Nobody waits. Nobody pays attention to me. I was trying to get Skype back up. I hope this one comes through. It's the 704 area code. We all know who that could be. I'm pretty sure I know who that could be. It could be Don Stevens calling in. Yeah, maybe we're not going to let him get through. You know why? Let's see. I think this is Don. We'll call him. He's trying to call us. 717-916-5189. We'll get you here on the air. Maybe not. Maybe we won't get you on the air. It's hard to say. Get a little feedback in the system here. Well, I don't think Don's around. I think his family abandoned him, left him on the side of the road somewhere. Lordy knows. All right, 717-916-5189. I don't know what else to talk about tonight. I mean, there's so much depressing news. You want to talk about Israel, Iran going nuclear, North Korea going postal. I mean, just between everything, who knows? I'm unaware of any problems in North Korea at the moment that are pressing, but one does not ever know for sure if that be the case or not. All right, here he is. I think I got him. Hey, you're on the air, my friend. Hey, what's going on?
Hello.
Don.
Hey, Carl, what do you got, a monkey on the switchboard over there?
I don't know what's going on up here. I really do.
Holy cow.
Are you flying? Where are you at?
It's a challenge to get through.
Well, you know, some people are a priority. For you, you know, we cleared a line to get you on here.
Oh, okay. Good. Well, I'm glad you have your priorities straight.
So Don, what kind of...
Are we still talking with Dwayne?
But Dwayne's gone now, yeah. We dumped Dwayne to talk to you, Don. Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah, right.
I
don't know. I just wanted to rag on Dwayne a little bit. We never get to, talk together at the same time.
I know. I keep you as far apart as possible, actually. Mainly at Dwayne's request.
Do you think we're diametrically opposed? Is that what it is?
No, not really. I think you two probably circle around behind each other and meet up somewhere along the line.
You know, when dogs greet each other, how they sniff each other's butt. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Remember, Glenn Beck used to say, people that are way on the right and way on the left, they actually meet at the other side.
That's funny. Well, according to Dwayne, I'm not left-wing anyways, which I don't remember ever saying that, but, you know.
I'm waiting for the next big immigration protest to break out. You know, when they try to move some more innocent kids across country in a bus somewhere.
And all the rednecks can turn out and beat the bus with flags and throw Bibles at them. And isn't that what happened there in, what was that, Arkansas?
Yeah. Well, it was Texas, or in California, rather. They were moving the immigrants from Texas to California. It was some town, Murraysville, California.
Very compassionate.
You know, and when we think of California, you know, there's like 5 Californians. I mean, the political leanings of California are very different in different parts of the state. So there are some very conservative areas in California and some very liberal areas.
Reagan came from there. I mean, he was the governor there, so.
Yeah, and they routinely elect Republicans to statewide office out there, which, as I'm sure, you know, I imagine the people sitting around in 90210 going, who the hell's this guy? You know, although California is a world unto itself. So, you know, the way things run out there, what they consider, by the way, to be moderate, we would consider to be liberal here on the East Coast. So, the Republicans that come out of California tend to be probably historically palatable to the nation simply because they are true moderate Republicans versus what you might get out of the Midwest, let's say.
It's probably a pretty good cross-section because California could be its own country.
Yeah, easily in so many different ways. If they had their own military, they'd be formidable, but fortunately they just have ours. And, of course, they build most of ours, too. So what am I saying? At one point, I don't know how true this is. I've got to get the exact figure. But at one point, California would be something like the 4th or 5th largest economy in the world if it were its own country. So that's just amazing. Well, I just lost Don. And I think due to the weather concerns and whatnot, I'm just going to wrap this show up a few minutes early. So I appreciate you guys listening. And we'll be back Wednesday from 7 to 9 p.m. And, of course, next Sunday, regular time, 6 to 9 p.m. Build some topics up, and I will be back to hang with you. Carl Rominger signing out for the evening, but I've enjoyed it, and I've been prattling just a little bit, but I'm happy to take more calls Wednesday night, so let's think about things. I really want some research on a couple things. I really want some research on this statistical closeness of the presidential races, if we can. I would really be looking for that. So, all right, have a great night, guys, and I will see you soon. Hey, what's going on?
Nothing. How are you doing?
I'm just doing a little work.
Oh, are you at work?
No, just at home doing a little work.
Yeah, I got to work when I get home, too. I have a 7 a.m. flight tomorrow, and I'm not ready yet.
That's right. You're going out of town.
Yeah, just for the days. Indianapolis till tomorrow night, and then I'll be home tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's cool.
I have like a 3-hour meeting in Indianapolis. It sounds ridiculous, but whatever.
No telecommuting.
Yeah, that's right. I need a helicopter. I need my own plane is what I need. Or just somebody to carry my luggage would be good.
So how'd your son do?
He did alright. He got served. He was so pumped up. I don't think I've ever seen him like this, like dancing out of his skin. But they get 8 swings. Any balls that just they throw and they don't swing it don't count. So they get 8 swings, and it's whatever they have like this little internal lock. If it went over that line, you got 1 point. If it made it to the warning track, you got 3 points. And if it went over the wall, you got 5 points. He had 9 points, but the guy that was in the lead just now when I left had 15 points. So he hit 3 over. I mean, the kid was like 6'4", 13-year-old.
Right.
But he did well. I was proud of him. He hit 1 over, and he hit 1. He got a 1-pointer and then a 3-pointer. So he did well. And he beat out 40 kids to even get into it. So that in itself was huge.
Right.
So, you know.
It's cool.
So